Hello guys, it's an honor to be here and give this presentation. Not too long ago, I was a student, and now I'm here. The introduction said, I was born in Edinburgh, Texas, from a very humble family, and where I used to live, the colonia I used to live in, at that time had a lot of gang violence and I remember one time I tried to sleep early because I was getting ready for my state exam, the tax at the time. And I remember I was so mad because I heard gunshots in my colonia, and they would wake me up and I couldn't get correct sleep, to take my test in the morning. And it was just something that I wanted to get out of at some point in my life. I want to show you guys a video that I made when I was 13 years old, and then we'll go from there. Get some volume.
Hello, my name is Uriel Landeros, and this is the My name is Uriel. I live in Edinburgh, Texas. I have been living here for 13 years, basically since I was born. I like this place because it's quiet, not like the city. My parents came here from Mexico looking for a better life. And that's me, my mom, and he's my younger brother. My mom worries a lot about the two of us. That is my dad and my two younger sisters, Maria and Margarita. My dad hurt his back working 8 years ago. Now he's the one who basically stays at home and takes care of us.
Yes.
Every morning I get up at 5:30 and ride the bus to school. It's about an hour long ride. Mostly in the morning it's very quiet. I don't go to a typical school. I go to a public charter school. It's called the Academy. This is my school. Teachers just don't like to waste time. They keep me really busy. We work a lot in groups to solve problems. I like it. Everyone's got their own task to accomplish. But in order to finish the big assignments, we have to rely on each other. Our school cares a lot about reading. We read in all of our classes, not just language arts. It's pretty neat. Sometimes we read to ourselves. Other times we read to each other. It makes reading a lot more fun. The motto is no excuses, and 100% every day. Our teachers expect a lot of us. They stay after school to help us and even let us call them on the phone. It really matters to them that we do our homework.
An apple plus apple? Correct. 2 apples. So in other words, what is that? 2x.
I like to do well in school. I always listen, take notes, and ask questions when I can. My teachers say I have a lot of potential.
That is right. That's correct.
Sometimes I stay after school to play sports like soccer and football. I am the captain of the soccer team. We're not bad. Last year we got second place, playing against other charter schools around here. People ask me what I'm going to do when I get older. And I tell them, I don't really know. But one thing's for sure, I'm going to college. Maybe Stanford or Yale. I've heard they're pretty good colleges. My teacher said that if I work hard enough and try my best, I could be anything and go wherever I want. Maybe Maybe I'll be a doctor and study medicine, find some cures. But one thing's for sure, I'm gonna keep on working hard and I'm gonna keep on skating.
So, like I said, I'm from the first generation of Idea Public Schools. So I'm from the first school. I'm the very first generation. And with this video, we had a proposal with the Gates Foundation. You know, you guys know Bill Gates, right? When we showed this video to his secretary, Idea Academy was awarded its first $2 million, and we built the high school I went to. That was Idea Donna. But this was one of the videos that we showed to the agency, and they gave us money for it pretty much. And so did the Dell Foundation and like a bunch of other, you know, generous corporations. After this, I went through the rigorous system of Idea Academy. You know, some of you who are students there understand that like it's not an easy school to be in. You have to wake up early. You have to work really hard. You have to go to school on the weekends sometimes. You know, and everybody there expects a lot of you. And eventually, I got accepted to 5 different colleges: UCLA, Texas A&M. UTPA and TSU, but I ended up going to U of H. So I wanted to just discover the city and like know a little bit more about what it was to be around like different cultures. And it was great. It was beautiful. My college experience couldn't have been any better. And when I was younger, you know, the dream seemed so far. Like it was like, how am I gonna make this happen? How am I going to become? How am I going to go from a little kid, a poor kid in a colonia, to like going to one of the best universities, right? And at that time, the dream seemed so far, you know, but that was the reason why it would be that beautiful. When I got to college, I was a year about before I graduated, and like one of my professors told me, he walked into class one day, you know, I think he was having a bad day or something, and like he was like, "Hey guys, have you guys ever been to a museum and seen a piece of artwork and been like, what is that ugly painting doing there? You know, like I could paint something better, you know, like, but at the same time, like your work is not there, you know." Right? So if you can paint something better, why isn't your work there, right? So there's something beyond just having good technique and being able to draw pretty pictures, right? And the professor himself didn't know the answer because he hadn't had a museum show. But it was just something that he was lingering about, he was thinking about, and it stayed with me. So I was like, okay, I could be, in a year from now, when I continue this path, I can be a teacher, I can be a professor, I can be where he's at. But something underneath me like wanted more. I felt like that wasn't enough. Like like there was something in me, like, you know, my inner voice was telling me, no, you can do something else. You should maybe like set your standards and your goals a little bit higher. So I went with it. I began to listen to myself more. And that summer, I got with a group of students, or with a group of my friends. Some of them were ex-Marines, some of them were geeks, you know, hackers, and you know, all different types of backgrounds. And I was like the painter, the artist. And we decided that we wanted to do a graffiti stunt, you know, to get the museum show, you know, to break the boundaries of the art realm, you know. And so we followed this process called the 5-paragraph order, which is basically a plan attack that the Marines use, the U.S. Marines use, to like invade it, like a village, you know, during times of war. And we used this to go in there, and the whole purpose was to paint a politically charged image on top of a Picasso painting. So maybe some of you guys know who Picasso is, maybe you guys don't. But he's considered to be pretty much the biggest name in the art world since the beginning of time. And this image that I chose was about my history and my background. So when I was you guys' age, and I would read the history of the Native Americans and my ancestors, pretty much, I hated the story of the conquista and the conquest, and how a group of people came, destroyed civilization and like culture that existed here for thousands of years before. And that was something that always troubled me. Like, I hated that. I hated reading that, you know. And I see it manifested in everywhere, in a lot of things, whether it's politics or whether it's, you know, like racism or many different ways. And I wanted to give that word a different meaning. Like, I wanted to wake up in my life and be like, that word doesn't mean that anymore. So I chose that name as a graffiti artist at that time. I had already, like, you know, I'd done graffiti extensively. I painted trains, I painted bridges, I painted walls, like everything, but I feel like that wasn't enough. If I really wanted to take it to the next level, you know, if you really want to speak to the world, you know, you have to go to a platform of professionals, and that was Picasso. So on June 13th, 2012, me and my collective, we hacked the museum pretty much. So we went in there, and the whole purpose was to paint a graffiti over this Picasso painting that was worth millions of dollars. And we did it, you know. We found a way to, like, we engineered a plan to where like everything was gonna go perfect. And we spray painted an image with gold, which is in reference to the conquistadors and the search of gold. So that was the color of the spray can was symbolic for that. And it was the image of a bullfighter killing a bull. The bull represents Picasso. He's the art beast. And the bullfighter represents me, slaying the bull. After that, I had a show, maybe like 2 days afterwards, I had an art show. There was like 1,000 people in the show. I sold all the artwork that was there. And still people didn't know about this. So maybe like a week later, there was a video uploaded online about the incident, and it went viral. Like, it was like 1 million views in like 2 days. And it was everywhere. CNN, you know, every like news station, like, and you know, it was worldwide. New York Times, Washington Post, like CNN, NPR, National Public Radio, like everywhere. I remember that that year, LeBron James won his first championship. And I remember checking my email, and you know how there's like the top 5 stories? It was like, LeBron James just won a championship, and then after that it was like, Uriel Landeros, graffiti, conquista, and it's like worldwide, right? After that, I was bombarded with people who wanted to like be associated with me and like give me an art show, you know. I had ripped the threshold, you know, that dream that seemed so far, you know. When you go to a museum, the majority of people, the work that is there, is people who are already dead, you know. And, you know, it's very hard. Like, having a museum show is like, it's harder than being in the NFL or being in like any like professional sport. And somehow we had made it happen. Maybe about like 3 months or 4 months after that, I get a call by one of the curators in Mexico City. His name is Carlos Palacios. He's the curator for Museo de Arte Carrillo Gil, which is pretty much like the most prestigious contemporary art museum in all Latin America. And he wanted to offer me a show. You know, at that time, I didn't believe it. It was too surreal for me. And, you know, at the same time, I also felt like he was working with the cops because the cops were also after me, you know, because I had done something that was illegal. And so anyways, I told him, you know what, like, just give me a call in a few days and let me think about it. And I started researching him, and I found out that he was real, he was legit. And so I was like, okay, well, let's do this, you know. He wanted the stencil that I used for the Picasso painting to be exhibited in Mexico City. So I was like, okay. Basically, the way it works is when you lend the work to the museum, and then they give you a blank check. Basically, just you can put whatever number, you know, of your worth of your artwork there, and they insure it. So if anything happens to the piece, they have to pay you, right? So then I shipped it to Mexico City, and then I told them that I wasn't gonna be able to make it because I couldn't, you know. The FBI was also looking for me. So even though like there was all these galleries that were wanting my work, I was also being chased by the best police in the world, you know. And eventually, like the day of the show, I kind of told myself, you know what, like I might get arrested here, I might get extradited in the museum, but that would be the best way to do it, you know. I'm having the show, you know. I'm doing what I'm not supposed to do. So the day of the show, I show up. I didn't tell anybody. The curator was surprised to see me there. He didn't expect me there. And it was one of the most amazing experiences I've had in my life. It was like the highest level of art you can be in, you know. Like I was 22 at the time. So I became the youngest artist in Mexican history to have a museum show in that place. And literally, do you guys know who Frida and Diego Rivera are, right? Their house was literally like across the street. You know, if you've seen Frida's movie, like that house is literally across the museum where I had a show. So it was very like, it felt fake. It felt like I was dreaming, like I'm about to like this, I'm gonna wake up and this is not real, right? But it was very real. Eventually, I had gone to my museum show. I had made money out of this. It had been success for me. But also another part of this story is that like the FBI, the U.S. Marshals were also harassing my family because they wanted to put me in jail pretty much. And so they would walk into my parents' house or just anybody that I had emailed or been associated with, and they would knock down the door and they would walk in there with the guns and be like, where is he, you know? Even though I'm not I'm not a murderer. I'm not a like, you know, but to them I was a really big threat. Eventually, I decided that was enough. It was enough, you know, there was enough harassing of my family, and I had to go face the music. So I turned myself in at the border here in Reynosa, at the International Bridge, and they were waiting for me there, and I got arrested. And then I went to trial, got a lawyer, and they ended up imprisoning me for my graffiti art for 2 years. So I spent 2 years there. But what ended up happening there is that like I put my time to use, even though I was in a place where, you know, it's like I was surrounded by some of the worst criminals, you know, being in a maximum security prison. It was not a beautiful experience. It was terrible. You know? Every day you woke up to a nightmare. So the exact opposite that I had felt, you know, that's what I was experiencing now. But every day I would wake up and I would draw and paint. And there was something that like I told myself, when I get out of here, like I'm gonna have the best technique. I'm gonna be the best, you know. Like every day, like I can't take it for granted. You wake up and you think carpe diem, you know. Today I'm gonna live my life like it's the last. So when I got out, I got a commission in the Resurrection Church in Alamo, and this is some of the work that we did. So this is my family here, and I was commissioned to paint 4 panels of art. So this one, can you go back, please? So this is just to show like the scale of the work. So it's 4 4 different panels. So there's this one, and there's another one on top. And then on the opposite side of the church, there's 2 panels, right? So you can switch now. And these are some of the works that are still there, you know, just to show you like what happened once I was there, you know, basically. You know. Okay. Well, let's just skip a little bit then. Afterwards, I started working with Idea Academy because Tom Torkelson, which is the CEO of Idea Public Schools, used to be my teacher when I was in 4th grade. And I told him that like it's great. Idea Public Schools are doing great. We're sending a bunch of kids to college. You know, we're growing. We're opening new schools. That's great. But there's one problem, T. The schools look like prisons. You know? The schools need to be beautified. And that's something that I solemnly believed will inspire students and the staff and everybody that works in the school. So the first, can you stop there? This is a mosaic mural in Idea Donald. That's the school I graduated from. The tile that is there, this is 22 karat gold. So every piece, you can't buy this material at any store. You can't go to like Home Depot and be like, hey, I want some gold tile. Well, it doesn't exist, you know. So it's something that I invented. So basically what I do is that like, I get tile and I put a layer of gold leaf. Has anybody ever heard of gilding? Okay, so I put a layer of gold leaf and then I put a layer of resin. And the resin preserves the gold. And then, so this is a picture of me fabricating. And I cook it with the torch. And then it's basically a product that's indestructible. Like, and I use it to put it on the wall. But it's not. I say it so easily, but the very first time I had this project, I had never done anything like this or anything this big. So can you stop there? So this is we go at night, and we traced it. So back with the graffiti. So start with a can again, right? So we projected it there with a lifter, and I get up there, and you can see the scale of the work. So go up there with a spray can, mark it, and then after that you begin putting the tile. But the thing is that like these works are so heavy that at the beginning I didn't know if it was gonna hold or stand because it's about like a ton of cement and like another ton of tile, and I mean ton as in like the weight, not in like a lot. You know, so it's like a structure that weighs about 2 tons. Like that's like 2 cars, maybe like 2 trucks. And at the beginning, I really didn't know. I hadn't figured it out. I was like, okay, what if I'm like halfway and then like everything just falls apart? You know, so I couldn't. I had to study basically like cement. So I went beyond painting and all that. Like you have to like, what is cement for? What's the best one? What are the best colors or whatever? You know, so you have to like really invest into time into like really understanding materials beyond like the typical paints and brushes, right? Anyways, eventually we finished, we made it happen, and they loved it. And then other schools loved it. And so I got a call from McAllen, Idea McAllen, and we've made another one, you know? So this is and same process with gold, and this one was even bigger. And then now, you know, like, basically that's what I do now. So every school, I'm the artist in residence for Idea Public Schools, and basically like I talk to the principals. I get a phone call one day and they're like, hey, we have this vision, you know, can we create an artwork like this? And it's not just mosaics, it's also murals and anything, because you know, now I have the power to paint and do anything that I want. This is one. Can you show that one? Do we still got it? Well, anyways, I was going to let you guys ask me questions, but I think we're out of time. Thank you.